All right, welcome back everyone to Novel Nonsense. I'm Tiffany, and we're doing another author interview with the lovely Cyndi Brec. So first, before we kind of hop into all of your books, because we're definitely going to talk about your series because I loved it. But I want you to just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are outside of being an author, what got you interested in writing, all of that good stuff.
Well, first of all, I'm a mom first, a wife second, and I actually am a faith walker. I will put that out there. Um, I have a strong faith, and that's the strongest part of my life. And that does filter into my writing because I write closed door romance and I write high stakes, dangerous secrets, and hidden history. Uh, I am a national treasure, Rick Riordan's Mythical Quest girl. I love anything that's secrets, hidden. I like things that were from biblical, like the giants and researching that, or all the way down to Greek mythology and well, why was that going on? Or what about that? So it's not just the little bit about me, as in, like, okay, I'm just Cyndi Brec. No, those little facets of what make me the person I am have definitely filtered over into my book. I like kind of seeking out and discovering why legends work or why they didn't work or things like that. I jokingly say that I'm a legend sleuth, and that's definitely prior to even writing and starting to write 15 years ago or so. I was always reading Greek mythology or why this functioned this way, and always trying to understand the facets of things underneath the issue or how could that have been tweaked differently. So that's just a little bit about me, but I'm an avid hiker. I love bike riding. I would like to say I like to swim, but I probably drowned. I like to float.
I don't know how to swim either, so I can't say anything.
Yeah, yeah. um I think and this has only come about since being married to the love of my life. It'll be 30 years this year, but I believe
Congratulations.
in, oh, thank you. I like restoring or being a part of restoring history. And for us, our little contribution to the world has always been the restoration of the Keister watermill. We had originally owned it for 20 plus years, just a little bit. And my husband just got it as a hobby and we worked with it and stuff like that. And it's just knowing that you're part of something that exist beyond your own little world. And so, and I guess maybe that's why my book series comes from that and writing that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's
So
also nice too of like when you talk about restoring pieces of history of because I feel like there's so many things nowadays that we're just building new and new and new and just knocking down the old and forgetting about it. So that's really cool. I like that.
yeah, they say that it's easier to destroy the old and rebuild than it is to renovate what was existing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been over to Italy, France, Europe, and I've seen, and Canada, but I have seen history. I mean, not just 1816 history or in Ohio founded in 1803. I've seen history back thousands of years. And I mean, to see the stewardship of that property, and yet at the same time, the history that one room or one chamber or one cathedral could actually hold the secrets that that could possess, or the secret doorways that that could open and possess. That's what I love. So anyhow, uh, that's what I like to do. That's a
Yeah.
little bit about me. It's harder for me to talk about myself than it is my book. It truly is. It truly is. I do not, I'm boring. I truly am a boring person because I am not, I'm a teetotaler, lemonade drinker, murdering people on page. That's just me. I'm a fun-loving dog lover and I have kids and I love the community and neighborhood.
Mhm.
That's just me, but I wreak havoc on pages. But I don't in my own life. It's boring, other than if you're under construction zone and stuff. So,
Sure. Yeah. So what got you into writing?
well, I had a teacher, uh, creative writing teacher in high school that told me, you're good, but you do suck at punctuation. And I knew that. I was never, it's never been my forte, still isn't my forte. You
Hmm.
know, I'm grateful to have had a critique group that was like, okay, Cindy, you need to do something better here. And that's why I pay for polished editing.
Hmm.
But I would have to say what got me into it is that I always, when I read, always finished and figured out that I could have done that better or thought that I could have done that better.
Hmm.
And then I had an idea about um, taking our water mill and using history and just having history meet romance in a totally unexpected way. And it had that thirst to cultivate that world and stuff. And I think over time, just slowly, I just worked at getting that world into something. And it's just like I never stopped,
Hmm.
always every day I'm up in my office doing something related to the Theron world. So
Hmm. Yeah, I absolutely loved both books. I feel like the first book it gives you a lot of background on everything. You kind of get your feet wet into the world. And the second book, it was so hard for me to put down. Like it's funny that you said you mentioned National Treasure because that's what I was thinking as they were traveling and figuring out different puzzles and I was like this is amazing. So tell us about your books.
okay, so the first book, Secrets Beneath Scars, and I actually have them titled The Therans for the trilogy just because it's different. I kind of like the Harry Potter and then the Sword and the Stones, or that little subheading. But
Mhm.
the Secrets Beneath Scars, my character Callie, she seeks to understand the origins of her powers. Instead, she stumbles across a conspiracy soaked in archaeological mystery. And I like to say when I'm pitching this to people, that's when the romance begins. I am not about telling you everything about the book. I want to
Mhm.
give you the nuances of it, everything like that. But if you like something of that flavor of the Rick Riordan vibe, National Treasure with romance, then I'm like, this is a good thing for you.
Mhm.
The big thing, though, Tiffany's, I did not want to stay in Ohio. I did not want to stay in um, the Theron world and what's under the ground of Ashworth College or anything like that. I wanted to explore beyond because where did the Therans come from? And that's when book one went from a self discovery of this protagonist, Callie Tresham, into the Theron world. But then book three was like, why do the Therans exist and what purpose do they serve other than to be stewards of history?
Mhm.
So that's when the third book came into play. And that's when I got to looking at this and I'm like, okay, this series is not a typical series that's
Mhm.
out there on the market. I used a real setting, Worcester, Ohio. I
Mhm.
used I used a real historical watermill. Anchored it into a real house. I anchored it into as much kind of mythology as I could that first book. But then book two, I mean, you got the Codex, you've got the Theron world, or Stewards of History. And I dove a lot into like Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet, which you reading it, I got into how history is written by the victor. And truly, the victor doesn't truly write accurate history. And
Mhm.
so, do you remember and I think I might have at the Big Ohio Book Con. I might have brought this up to you. Wilson from Tim the Toolman Tailor.
Mhm.
Okay. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, he's the guy that's at the fence, was constantly like this. So you know in book one and book two, there's this mythical creature. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you definitely get exposed to him in book three. But we had happenings when we owned that Keister watermill where my husband would put down a piece of equipment and the hammer would disappear. 3 days later, it would reappear. And we don't get into ghosts, we don't get into all this kind of stuff. So I
Right.
created this mythical creature that I kind of call the Tool Bandit.
Uh-huh.
And he goes from book one to book two, and he's definitely in book three. I mean, he's a menace. He wreaks havoc, even in book two, slightly. Um, but he definitely wreaks havoc more so in book three when you get to see who he is. And so the important thing about him is he never revealed himself, but in book three he does. And then you get to see how he actually writes accurate history.
Mm.
Humans write the history of the victor. And so that ties in like Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet. It really ties in a lot of fictional theory information.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to take people from self discovery of identity, who this woman, this girl is, to a girl that's walking on eggshells, not knowing who she is, all the way into throwing her into the Theron world and then finding out, of course, in book two, which I could say this without giving too much away, that she's an instrument of prophecy. So book three brings in that dual world trilogy. And so that way each book is totally different. And hopefully they make a high enough of an impact of something different, something that resonates with people. And you being around the area know the landmarks that might have been in that book and the little nuances.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things that snagged me. I mean, even just mentioning Kochi House, and I was like, wait a minute, what? What? Because I mean, growing up outside of Worcester, I was like, and then you kind of have that moment of, oh my gosh, I feel like I was living in this world that this book is built because I know these landmarks. And even my husband, he was like, that's so cool. They like Kochi House, and he's
yeah.
obsessed with Kochi House. So
Oh,
if
oh
anybody
yeah.
he's like, yeah. But no, I thought
It's
that was very
definitely
cool.
crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about the book and a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm kind of the boring person. The books are definitely more interesting.
And I will say one of the things that I really enjoyed is watching Callie's growth from book one to book two. Like, I feel like you have that normal, like, I'm a teenager just trying to get through school, all of that. And then she learns more about where her powers are coming from. She meets Tristan. She is now thrown into all of this drama and danger and everything. And I really like the fact that you didn't glaze over the fact that she struggled sometimes. Like, she had some days where she's like, I can't even get out of bed because the weight of the world is on my shoulders. And
Hmm.
for me, like, I really related to that, to go like, it's okay to have a bad day. Like, it's okay to go, you know what? I have a lot on my shoulders right now. I don't have to go conquer the world today. And I think that
Hmm.
was, I really enjoyed seeing that part of her, because sometimes with our protagonists, we just see a lot of the good and all of the conquering they're doing and all of that. But I think that was a really nice touch that you did with her.
Well, thank you. I know there's a lot of people that when they the authors that write and I'm not one to put authors down because not everybody's gonna like my book, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't like it when there's a death and the next chapter, it's like the world is great, I'm okay, let's move on. That's not real life.
Yeah.
And to gloss over anything like that doesn't give the reader the true impact that they need to experience if they're truly immersing them or the author's trying to immerse them into the actual story world. They
Mm-hmm.
got to feel every heartbreak. I mean, did you feel a heartbreak at end of book two?
I did. I'm trying not to give it
Without
away.
spoilers.
Right, right. I very much thought that a big person was gone and a big person in Callie's life. And I think also the immense guilt that she felt in that moment. Like, I had to kind of sit there for a minute and be like, whew, okay. Like, it's not real life. Take a second, because like it's just, it was so much of just, oh my gosh. Like, I almost feel like she was kind of torn between, thank goodness I'm alive and my grandpa's alive, but also, oh my gosh, I feel like it's my fault that
Yep.
so and so is supposed to be, not here. So,
Right. Right.
yes, very much felt all the feelings there.
Yeah.
That's why when I
And,
saw you, I was like, tell me
yes.
this isn't true.
But I had several people message me on this side. And even in my private closed groups, somebody even made a comment. I don't write cookie cutter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if, how do you put it? If I am supposed to draw out as a reader the angst, the emotion and stuff, and give you something to thirst or yearn to read more of, because
Mm-hmm.
I am an HEA girl, happily ever after, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. If that tells you anything, Tiffany, I totally believe in that. I mean, I would not be where I am and blessed where I am in my life, in my my relationship with the Lord and my husband. But oh my gosh, I felt compelled to leave it on that note to usher in another lost civilization where it's smack. You get thrust into a world that is totally like it's going to drop the floor. I mean, opening scene, chapter one, you're going to be like, what? I had one of my beta readers read book three, scene one, and she says, I had to go back and read book two to make sure that this was the right book
Oh.
because she says, what in the heck? And I said, I don't want to be predictable. I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I like I like to surprise things. And I love things like The Mummy. I love movies like Tomb Raider. I mean, but of course, undercore of the romance. Because I think when you add that romance to it, it's not just an archaeological world. Oh, I mean, a world such an archaeological mystery. It's got higher stakes when you've got that risk of the emotional edge added to it. So, yeah, but I'm a happily ever after girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes me feel better. And I mean, I will say, and we talked about this at the book con, the only piece that made me go, okay, stop freaking out was that little nugget that you dropped in the epilogue. And I was like, okay, I think I think we might be okay.
I don't like, I want to, okay, so I write for intrigue. I write for mystery. All my books have mystery. If I were to say what genre I am, I mean, you have to label yourself something. So like fantasy romance, definitely romantasy, yes. Um, but if I could tag mystery on there, I would because intrigue that I mean that
Mm-hmm.
is a selling point that is so strong with my series. And I am even right now, like I am writing the college years.
Mm.
So there's a duology on its way related to Cali.
So
And
excited.
it brings it it comes right back to Ohio. Ohio is not this sleepless little quiet town, or at least I'm not making it that way. Oh, I
Mm.
should say Worcester. So I made like a New Cumberland Falls, this private little town out on the outskirts of Worcester, Ohio. So, I could do all the danger there and Worcester can't get upset, you know? So yeah, yeah. So
No, I think that's fantastic. And we had kind of talked a little bit about, so some of your characters, at least Callie, is based off of some family members. Are there, so we've got like landmarks and things that are based off of real life. Are there other characters that are based off of family or friends?
well, okay. My daughter thinks this is weird. But when I was writing, okay, so when Erica, my daughter, was growing up, I kind of mimicked Callie after her hobbies, her interests, her emotional angst,
Mhm.
her always quirkyism, and always wanting to be honest and true and that kind of stuff, because that's that essence, my daughter. That's what she is, who she is.
Mhm.
But always with that comes tragedy, it's life. Um,
Mhm.
believe it or not, Tristan has a strong flavor of my husband.
Oh.
So so Tristan has a strong flavor of my husband because I do write what I kind of know.
Mhm.
Um, and then my daughter's like, Mom, I said they're just personality quirkies, nothing like the whole person, right?
Right.
Because if I had to associate myself with anyone that I would be like, it would be Gramps.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit in Cali, personality a little bit, a mesh, but yeah. And I mean, I my believe it or not, Gramps has the blue eyes like my grandfather
Okay.
and the heart and the soul of my grandfather, but in the words of wisdom of in my internal thoughts. So,
Mhm.
do you see this little nose here? I don't know. Okay, so I will tell you this here. This is Tesla. He's the one in my book.
Oh, I love that.
Yep, this is our little love.
Talking about in your third book, there were some other people that you're kind of tying into some characters.
Wow. Like as far as personalities of characters and villains and stuff like that. Yeah, I think I use my background as a rec therapist, things that I knew from uh, being working in geriatric psych and stuff like that, kind of throw that into my writing world because I
Mm-hmm.
think it helps make a more well-rounded villain,
Mm-hmm.
and the antagonist comes to life more when you're using reality of life and yet you're mixing in the fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I've had some people say you write with an urban fantasy edge.
Yeah.
Maybe I do, but
Mm-hmm.
urban fantasy tends to be in the bigger cities and not the smaller ones and stuff
Right.
like that. So that's where that subjective viewpoint of authors or readers comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's why I've just generalized fantasy romance. You could add mystery, you could add all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you have to stick to something. So I just stuck with fantasy romance. But I definitely write using outside resources or familiar things that I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I'm sure that's probably the easier way. I mean, obviously I'm not an author, so I don't know, but I it feels like that would be easier versus trying to just like make up every little aspect.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep. Well, and not only that, but so I read authors' books and like they might have a court scene and um so like they might not be a lawyer, but they might have a court scene and they might use words that don't fit what's going on. And it's like you really have to be careful if you're going to write something that's real and
Mm-hmm.
bring and immerse a reader in there. Because what happens if the reader is a lawyer and they're like, wait, no, that's not plausible, you
Right.
know? So I spend a lot of time behind the scenes doing my best to make sure that the Google search engines that I'm looking at and researching with are giving me as much accurate information as I can, or I meet up with a lawyer, or I do something. But I think what's sweet is if I can't carry the destruction or the final verdict in a human courtroom, anything's plausible in a theater courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And which you witnessed,
Mm-hmm.
in the political warfare that I had going on in book two,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's what's important, using your background and staying true to what you know, even if you have to research a little bit to make your book come alive, but yet I want it to be grounded enough that it does seem like that's a possibility. So
Now, do you have any characters or scenes or I guess, what was your favorite part of writing either book so far?
I don't know. I love writing the scene I'm always in.
Mm,
I know that sounds kind of odd, but I don't like writing the scenes that get techy.
mm-hmm.
Um, uh, I like the adventure scenes. I like the fight scenes. And I really, really, really liked writing the prom scene,
That was.
Callie's first kiss, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that newness, that first kiss and stuff, but I also really like the beauty of everlasting love, long-term love. And yeah, I think what I like is I like writing about things when I'm uncovering the mystery along as I'm writing it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a pantser, so I generally know a rough idea where my storyline is headed because I kind of take things with a James Scott Bell approach, where I have a sticky note and I have a three-act structure. And I know usually act one, you're going to encounter this, act two on the sticky note will be here. And if I have to shift those sticky notes around, that's fine because I know those scenes have to happen in there. But I love every scene that I generally pretty much write, but primarily action and the romance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I did really enjoy Tristan and Callie's relationship, and I think even so, normally I don't like the miscommunication. And I feel like they had a little bit of that where like Callie wasn't filling Tristan in, and then he would find out things and get frustrated. And there were a few times where I'm like, Callie, just tell him. Just tell him and it will be done. It'll be fine. But I do feel like I understood partially why she didn't. Like I feel like she really had to work through being able to trust and being able to share some of those things. Um, so I really enjoyed watching their relationship grow too. I think that was very nice.
how do you say, Callie, when she's frustrated, she's tunnel visioned.
Mm-hmm.
She's not paying attention to what's on going on here. She's so zeroed in, especially in book two when she's after revenge. You know, she's not aware of the consequences and how her decisions affect other people around her, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I think that's what makes the book more interesting. And yes, I really like, I read a lot of historical romance, a lot of adventure books. And I also agree with you. I don't like it when could you just told that person that and we'd have been done with the book and everything. But when you have a justification when somebody's parents have been murdered, you found out who the murderer was, you found out that they were murdered for no reason, or whatever the circumstances are, how do you trust this good looking guy that saunters into your world and upheavals it? And then introduces you to a total different world that's got archaic rules. Even at that time, they were just coming around to, the whole idea that you are not your mate's not going to be chosen for you, that you have a right to choose who you want to marry. I mean, how archaic is that? You
Mm-hmm.
know, so so how do you say she's in this lost civilization and she does not know who she could trust. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually, every time I wanted her to spill the beans, there was no better point, no better moment for Callie to spill the beans when then she also had to expose her birthmark to
Mm-hmm.
Tristan. And
Mm-hmm.
that was like, I loved how Tristan said, no, Colin, I outrank you.
I know.
Give
I was
Callie,
like, yes.
yes. I mean, and like Tristan's not stuck up. He's not going to say this kind of stuff unless there's a reason, there's a purpose. And I was so thankful that in my head when I'm writing this, that he's like, okay, you know, you're next in line to the heir of that, throne chair of elders. So do something with it, And
Mm-hmm.
he set the gauntlet down. He said, okay, now let's do this. And then he backed her in the corner as far as saying, reality, you level with me. And what better way? She exposed everything. But
Mm-hmm.
it was that, Tiffany, it was that dime. It was that she exposed things, but then it flipped.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, get your shoes on, let's go. I mean, he opened up a door to a world that she never knew it really existed. And I mean, I love the mysteries when the freezer closet or you know you you do something different in a bank vault and it opens up a door to a portal or it does something totally different. I loved Narnia and how
Mm-hmm.
that wardrobe opened up into something different. I mean, I like things like that,
Mm-hmm.
things that aren't predictable, but that are as a lost civilization in plain sight, And so, and then she got introduced to like, wow, you know. And if you think book one and two, and by the way, thank you for liking them. I greatly, greatly appreciate that, Tiffany. But if you think that was good, I hope you like book three because it's 138,000 words.
I mean, I'm super excited. I'm ready. Whenever you're
Okay,
ready.
good. It's written, it's totally done.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm Yeah, and I was thinking about the scene where she gets introduced to the library and like she's in the confessional. And I had a moment where I was like, what if Tristan is the bad guy all along and like she's going to be stuck in this confessional and she's going to get out and there I had a very brief moment and I almost feel like Callie had a brief moment too in the confessional of like I don't know. But I was like, just
Yeah.
fine, we'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved that historic hallway that they walk it down
Mhm,
because that one map and you don't realize it's a map until much later and you're in book two and but we won't say too much for our listeners but enough to drop a little nugget but you don't realize but I always go back to the previous book to find to tie or pick up where I could use something for something to enrich the current book I'm in
mhm,
to always keep them linked together. And I think that's kind of cool in a
mhm.
lot of ways. So, one of my favorite characters is Nickel. He is so like, does not fit the whole
No.
steward of the librarian kind of thing. And tattoos and none of that stuff. I mean, um, he was one of my favorite characters. So,
Mhm.
yep, yep, that was a, yeah,
That was another moment where I was like, is this a trap? Because you don't feel like you belong here. But he was like, yeah, no, this is what I do. And I'm like, but I feel like should be like a bouncer or like in a
yep,
motorcycle gang or
yep, yep.
something.
That's what I like. None of the characters fit this mold of
Mhm,
like, okay, I wear glasses and I work in a library, or I'm a biker and I should be on a bike. No, I mean, eh, we should not just judge a book by its cover. There's
mhm,
a richness behind every person that's unique. And I love not having the typical mold, you
mhm,
know?
mhm,
So, and I hope that comes across in Callie. Um, I hope that I want that character arc to be really rich, to be really unique, and for readers to draw into her because she doesn't come onto the scene as in like, ooh, I'm Superwoman and I'm a hero. She comes onto the scene like, I'm human and I'm hesitant.
mhm,
I'm real, I'm raw. As the reader, you might get to know what's going on, but as another character in the book, she ticks you off because she's so hesitant on some avenues. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she does. But at the same time, she's strong enough to know her own identity.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially as she goes through.
I think that definitely grows more into the second book too.
Yeah,
And I think, I'm thinking about, okay, when I was in high school, because I think for readers, sometimes we're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Like, I could handle all of that. But if you really think about it, okay, if you're in high school and you have these powers that you're trying to hide from people and you find out all of this information, plus a whole bunch of other things happen to you, like, no, you wouldn't be able to handle it. And so it's just, I think that's for me really refreshing to just see all of the emotions that she goes through.
yeah,
And I think also because she's still kind of struggling with controlling her powers by the
yeah,
second book. And, I that's one thing I've really enjoyed is seeing her learn more about her powers, continue to work on them, and keep growing with it. Like, I love any of that with any magic systems in any book is when you have your main characters figure out their powers and they're learning, because then I feel like I'm learning about it too, and I just love
yeah,
it. I think that's like the nerd in me. I'm like, because I love academic settings too, where I'm like, let me pretend that I'm in the class with you so I can learn all about this stuff. So I really enjoyed watching that growth too. And I also love how protective Tristan is of Callie. Like that, melts my heart with any MMC. If they're like, nope, that's my girl, you better back up. I'm like, yes, thank you.
you thinking about favorite one like we all have our favorite scenes and stuff. And like I'm always about the scene I'm in at the moment, but I truly, truly liked when that one guy Logan was just so like, I want to date you, Callie. Why are you wasting your time with Tristan? And he comes up to the Coke machine and he's like, he's touching her necklace, and she's like, back away. And then Tristan just like, boom,
Yes.
it was like, ooh. And then when the cops come in, that fiasco, and that basically, in essence, I mean, that one kid's so stupid and he just flubs up, well, and all shoddy, like I could be this and I'm that, and you can't take credit for that. And the cops are right there listening to him rat himself out. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's what I like. I hope I didn't bore the reader because I tried to do everything in a way that was unexpected, not predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's edgy about my book. One of the things I'm working on now is Seville has a museum,
Mm-hmm.
the Giants of
Mm-hmm.
Seville Museum. So I am incorporating all of that into the current book I'm writing right
Nice.
now. And so it's definitely edgy. But remember, I told you about technology I have issues with because I'm not a techie person. Oh
Mm-hmm.
boy, my husband's gotten so many tech questions. He will limit me. Okay, you get two questions. That's it. But one question goes into the other. And we could
Right.
be in the midst of watching a movie, or I could be reading a book, and I'm like, hey, what about this? And he says, okay, this is real life or this is your fictional world. But I've got to ask him these questions because I don't know if this is plausible with technology. And if I don't ask him, I don't know if John Newton, he's a science fiction author, he's real tech savvy. So I'm like, okay, speed dial. So, and if it works, there's a core group of people that I was involved with, Wayne Novelist Guild, and quite a few authors there. And I was with the group for almost 14 years, 13, 14 years. But we've always had each other's back in a support. And I had to drop out because we're working on a festival. There's just too much on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, with that, it's just like, I don't know, it's just all good. But yeah, but just don't ask me tech savvy questions. No.
But it's nice that you have resources you can tap into to help make sure that you're staying on track with those things. I think that's really nice. Uh,
Yeah.
so, do you have any dates for your next book or not yet? Like, I know you said it's
I
ready, but
okay. I actually, well, the third book is written. I I could actually probably have the next book done in 6 months, 7 months. I like to have a book done and then release the one.
hmm
Um, due to the festival that we're planning,
hmm
um, and stuff like that, I will have it out early next year sometime. That's my plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not
And
bad.
so I'm tightening up the book title. It's going to be The Therans something.
hmm
So, but yeah, but I have one alpha reader to finish it. And I do my alpha readers individually. I don't like send my book out to all three of them and then have it done.
hmm
Uh, I like to take that time to read what they say and then digest it and stuff like that. So,
hmm
yeah, but no, early next year. That's my
I mean,
plan.
that's not horrible. I suppose I can wait. I'm just kidding. I will be fine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. The good thing is, you could always come down in September 26th and 7th and see that they're in World, or at least a little bit of it if you want to see the Keister Watermill.
Yes,
So
yeah, I did let Leah know, and so it's on our calendars for sure.
oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. I'm hoping that it turns out to be a really good event because other indie authors will be there and artisans. So
Yeah,
looking
that's.
forward to it.
Do you know how many authors will be there yet?
We have 30 authors and I think 8 or 9 artisans.
Nice.
It's not like a big thing, but it's big enough for us to me, and it's a lot, you
Yeah.
know. So but there's a crew of other authors that are doing it. It's not me solo. My daughter is actually heading it up. I'm her assistant just behind the scenes. So but she's the one that was with me at the Big Ohio Book Con.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that's heading it up. But the others, I mean, author Chrissy Hartman, she's doing a bunch of stuff, and author John Newton, author Linda Morgan, and Carrie Harder. They're all, I mean, each one of us all have a huge um, effort, huge
Mm-hmm.
stake involved in making sure that we pull this off. So there's a huge effort there.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first event that you're having at the mill?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Okay, so we no longer own it
Oh,
anymore. Yeah. And so the current owners, when I pitched this idea to them, they were like, yeah, we could do it. And so they're definitely letting us do what we want to do. So it's the first of its kind underneath new ownership. However, my husband and I, we've held other festivals, and we did an artisan festival, and we only had, I think, 11 artisans, and we had just shy of 2,000 people.
that's crazy. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the festivals this year for 2026 in September, they're even looking at pre-sale tickets for tours
Mhm.
to see the water wheel. And my husband's actually building the 18-foot overshot water wheel.
Nice.
So he does that every Saturday morning with Jeff Kinsey. They do that. I can tell you this stuff because I know it's a backyard. It's, I mean,
Mhm.
neighborhood, but they're working on that, 4 5 days a week because they got to get it done.
Right.
But yeah, but so yeah, but the farm foliage tour, we
hmm
didn't organize the farm foliage tour, but when we owned the mill, we had to man the event on our grounds.
Okay.
And so we had upwards of just shy of 5,000 people for 2 days. So
I can't even
and
imagine.
it's a lot, but my
Mhm.
husband breaks things down very methodically. And so we took the components that we knew functioned and worked well then, and we worked it into what works now. And
Mhm.
then like on the select committee, those people that I told you that are part of this thing, we said, okay, this works well. And we know that this person's great at this on the select committee. And so they were like, hey, I'll take that over. So yeah, my daughter's the head of it, but yet we all do the behind the scenes work, but we're all, how do you say, we all got our heart and our effort into it. And it's
Mhm.
really nice to work with people that have a love for it
Mhm.
and have an appreciation for history at the same time, have an appreciation for artisans in general.
Mhm.
And the new owners, the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, oh my goodness, they're fantastic stewards of the mill. I mean, it didn't get turned into a restaurant or something like that. No, they preserved it, which was our hope for future generations,
Mhm.
for kids to come and tour, for not school age kids, for adults, for grandparents, for people that drove by on their in bus tours and stuff like that. So it will officially open sometime soon. But this just happens to be a very sweet opportunity for people to get to see the mill and
Mhm.
everything that's going on at this September event. And you're going to have to come down, video record, and do what you want to do.
Yes, we definitely will. I know my husband was also wanting to come too because I mean he grew up in like the Shreve area, so you know
Hmm.
he is like, this is so cool that it's in a book. I was like, I know.
Oh, you talk about, okay, okay. Backflash. Okay, okay. Moment of a scene that is just so sweet when Tristan stands on the steps. And I actually had to rehearse it mentally and go over to the mill and position myself before I wrote it. Okay, if he's looking down, how many steps back up? He looks down, wait, no, she's got to be up there, and then they kiss. Or no, they don't kiss. I mean, all that kind of stuff. And then the kuklala, which is at the very top of the mill, which is where this bird of Troth, this mythical creature um, that I have in the book, hides, right? I had to
Mhm.
climb up there and I'm like terrified of it. But I had to know what it's like, okay, looking down, doing this. And finally I just said, Erica, you go up there and you figure this out. So she's like, okay. But I had to know if there was a ledge there because, he steals all the tools and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And he
Mhm.
hides them. And yeah. And even in the short stories, I have like little nuances of that kind of stuff. I like to write a little mystery with a sense of humor, I guess. Drive, maybe, if it is. I mean, I'm just weird that way, I guess. I don't know.
I enjoyed it. I feel like it's just like little pieces of like comedic relief. And there
Yes.
were a few times where I was like, oh no, is Callie like hallucinating and this isn't actually real? But then I'm like, no, because other things are happening that other people are noticing. So I
Yeah.
don't, she's hallucinating.
I did not. I wanted Kelly to be aware of who she was in that she knew she had powers. She could
Hmm.
see visions and yet not make her look ill
Yeah.
mentally.
Hmm.
Um, that she had to find the core inner strength in her to become and own the identity of who she is with the Theron powers that she has, and
Hmm.
then yet throw the edge in there with the mythical creatures, the legends, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the whole world is fantastic. I love the characters, character growth. Like I think you did an amazing job. So I am
thank
stoked
you.
for book three.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
So other than the September festival, do you have any other events coming up if people want to catch you anywhere?
Actually, I am going to be at next weekend. Well, I'm going to be at Kids Day tomorrow. Um, and then I'm going to be at Midnight Reader, and then I'm going to be at Stars Hollows, Folks and Floor. I have quite a few events this year. I'm going to be at Ohio Anna. Is it not Anna? Maybe it's not Ohio Anna. I think one of them got canceled for some reason, but I've got lots of events that I'm going to be at. Yeah. I kind of stick, I'm actually going down to West Virginia in
Oh,
October. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's a group of us going down. So I kind of stick with some people and we kind of do our things together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just safer that way. But yeah, those are just four of them offhand. But yeah, I can't remember. There's one in Columbus I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are Stars Hollow, Flora, Folks in Flora or something like that. And I wish I could remember the Columbus one. But the West Virginia Book Festival, yeah, I didn't sign. I signed up for quite a few, but not as many as I did last year. I got burnt out last year.
I know I'm sure it's hard to find that balance of like you're excited to share your books and talk about them, but you also need to have some balance there. I'm horrible about finding balance, so I'm one to talk.
Yeah.
Last question that I have, it's what are the best ways for readers to support you, support indie authors in general?
Mm,
Buying your books, right? But
so the question is, what is the best way that they could support indie authors?
mhm, mhm.
I would say I don't think people realize the significance of a book review.
Mm,
Um, if there's several people that I know have read my book,
mhm,
and did they leave a review? I don't know,
mm,
but if they would, it's greatly appreciated. And I know authors say that all the time. I think it's statistically like 1 in 10 people who read a book leave a review. And that's not that much.
yeah.
I mean, we're giving you hours of entertainment, joy, laughter, or heartache. One sentence on Amazon or Goodreads, you know, that's priceless. I want readers to take something away from my book series, and that is that Callie's journey is filled with loss, fear, and impossible choices, but it's also about courage, resilience, and discovering the strength in places I don't think you ever expected. More than anything, I hope readers walk away believing that um, there's more to life than just what we see in plain sight.
Mm, mhm,
I know that sounds kind of weird, but I'm a faith believer.
mhm,
And I also believe that um, we're always uncovering something underneath in Egypt, Iran, Iraq, lost civilizations that were covered by dust. I think there's a lot more to this world than what people give it credit for. And I think
mhm.
that's the beauty of mystery, the beauty of archaeological sites and discovery.
No, and I think it's funny that you mentioned reviews because I before I started doing ARC reads, I very rarely left a review, and it was I think it was me going like nobody cares what I have to say. Like, yeah, it's a great book. But the more that I've gotten to know indie authors and doing ARC reads, like it is very apparent of how important those are. So I always like I'm even if it's not an indie book, I still try to put a review out there to just still do my little part to just help keep that book going along.
Yeah.
And because I think, Lee and I have talked about this before too, of I'm a 5-star book and somebody else may 2-star, but it doesn't mean it's a bad book. It may just mean that it didn't fit you in that time of life that you were
Oh,
in.
yeah.
But you could come back to it and be able to go, oh my gosh, I actually relate with this, this, and this. So
Yep.
I don't think you sometimes get that information if you don't have reviews to look at. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
No, I think reviews are important, and I don't think a 1-star review is bad. I know that sounds kind of, um, it teaches us to grow if
Mm-hmm.
we want to accept the constructive criticism. And we also have to consider the source too.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take every review. I'm not one that goes, I'm one that I like to read some of the reviews, but I'm not dire to read the reviews. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Um, I'm like, I know that I could learn from them. And actually, I think as an author, we could get our best source of information from a review to use in the next book.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize that, but I think reviews are priceless. I think that's one of the best ways authors can be supported, and
Mm-hmm.
especially indie authors who are competing. And I know they say that they're not competing, but all authors out there in general, and not that I'm competing with my friends or anything, but we're all trying for a spot somewhere in life.
Sure.
You know, maybe not at the same point or the same location, but we're all striving to get somewhere. You know, we all want that level of um, recognition to some extent, and that recognition is that review,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your books. Like I said, I am super excited for book number 3. I cannot wait. So I'm
I'm glad that you really like it.
so no pressure, but
Yes, yes, I am glad that you really like it. And I'll definitely have you for ARC reads on this one.
yes, I would love to. All right, guys. Well, I will. Do you want me to pop your like socials? Do you want me to link it with this video so people
Sure,
can?
sure. Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
that'll
yeah.
be in the description below. But feel free to, subscribe, follow for any future videos that come up, and we will chat with you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.